Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Your Royal Highness Prince Al-Hassan bin Talal, Your Royal Highness Princess Badia, Your Excellencies, Lords, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome all on behalf of Islamic Relief to the very timely event as we begin a new year facing new challenges and contemplating quite a few old ones. Before I start, my thoughts and prayers tonight are very much with the families affected by the atrocities in Paris last week. Islamic Relief abhors terrorism, and we express our deepest sympathy and solidarity with the people of France at this traumatic time. I would like to extend particular thanks to His Royal Highness Prince Al-Hassan bin Talal and Sir Alan Duncan, our keynote speakers this evening, two men who have a huge heart for the Middle East and its people and for humanitarian work in general. As I was telling Prince Al-Hassan bin Talal a few minutes ago, I was raised in the Middle East, and I always looked at him when I was a young man as a role model, and I believe that so many in the world look at him as such. So thank you very much for being here, sir. I would also like to thank Cabo for hosting this event with us and pay tribute to the important role they play in making sure that the challenges of the Middle East have a prominent place on the UK political agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, last year a record 29 million people in the Middle East needed humanitarian help. As the Syrian conflict approaches its 5th year, over 200,000 people have lost their lives, and 11 million have either internally been displaced or driven out of their country as refugees. The people of Gaza are still trying to come to terms with the enormous human cost of the 50-day conflict in July and August. Islamic Relief is at the forefront of the international humanitarian response in both places. We also operate extensively in Iraq, where the Syrian conflict has spread too destructively, and in Jordan and Lebanon, where Syrian refugees have been received so generously in such numbers. And let's not forget Yemen, the poorest country in the region, but one that sometimes struggles to attract international attention, maybe in the shadow of so many other of the crises of the area. Last year, Islamic Relief spent £93 million in the Middle East and provided assistance to 5 million people, including 2.5 million inside Syria and 1.2 million in Yemen alone. We did so by working with a wide range of partners, from governments like the good government of the UK and Sweden, to United Nations agencies such as OCHA, the World Food Programme, UNRWA, to institutions such as Islamic Development Bank, the Jordanian Hashemite Charity Organization, and our UK charity partners in the Disaster Emergency Committee. Our staff bear witness to acute suffering and deprivation in many parts of the Middle East. Some of them risk their own lives every day to deliver aid to those who cannot help themselves in the most inhospitable areas of this region. And they will continue to do so, because we believe, as the Quran says, that if you save only one life, it's as if you saved all mankind. And the Quran does not say whether that life is a Muslim or Christian or Jewish. All God's creation is precious, and we care about all of them. It is harder than ever to deliver aid in places like Syria, Iraq, and Gaza. The Syrian conflict is complex, chaotic, and brutal. In many places, there is no meaningful protection for the workers, and none of the reassurances and coordination that a United Nations presence on the ground can provide. Aid agencies operating in areas controlled by proscribed organizations have to deal not only with the immediate challenges of conflict and insecurity, but also with the intense scrutiny associated with the global war on terror and counter-terrorism regulations. Ladies and gentlemen, 7 months ago, Islamic Relief was designated as an unauthorized association by Israel and banned from working in the West Bank for alleged links with Hamas. We immediately commissioned an independent investigation by one of the world's leading audit firms to examine our projects, our finances, and our staff. Every single project that we did over the last 3 years, every single employee that we hired over the last 3 years in the West Bank and in Gaza. It looked in great detail at the systems and processes that we've developed over the years to ensure that our work benefits only those of genuine need and our aid does not go to the wrong hands. What the investigation found in the West Bank is that those systems and processes are working well, and there is absolutely no evidence of any links with terrorism. And yet, now we find ourselves again on another blacklist, this time published by the United Arab Emirates. What possible justification, we ask, can there be for a listing of a neutral, purely humanitarian organization like Islamic Relief alongside groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda? When it comes to tackling homegrown terrorism, we believe that Islamic Relief is part of the solution, not part of the problem. In the United Kingdom, we're encouraging young people in their thousands in channeling their energy into raising awareness about the considerable humanitarian needs for Syrians, into raising funds, and into urging their MPs to support the peace process. We've also been outspoken in our criticism of rising anti-Semitism during the Gaza conflict, which we think is every bit as unacceptable as Islamophobia. Reaching out to people of other faith and working with them is in our DNA as Islamic Relief. We were proud to stand with Christian Aid and World Jewish Relief last year in condemning violence against minorities in Iraq at an interfaith vigil involving leading imams, rabbis, and the Archbishop of Canterbury. We also partnered with CAFOD and Caritas on a joint delegation with Muslim Aid to the Central African Republic to highlight the enormous human cost of communal violence and to work together to bring relief to the victims regardless of their faith and ethnicity. Although our mission is humanitarian rather than political, we will not shy away from asking difficult questions of our politicians on behalf of those that we serve. It is our responsibility to speak the truth to power about the realities of poverty and conflict as we experience them firsthand. This is what we will endeavor to do at Davos later this year, and it's what we did also last year in the fringe debates on Afghanistan and Syria at the UK party conferences. Holding governments to account is vital because ultimately there can be no lasting humanitarian solutions to what are essentially political problems, especially in the Middle East. I just heard from His Royal Highness today that no peace will ever be achieved if poverty still exists in the Middle East. Renewed diplomatic energy is needed to achieve more breakthroughs in the region, like the temporary truce that allowed the United Nations to get aid into the besieged Yarmouk area of Damascus, supported with funding from Islamic Relief. The people of Gaza need to be given the means to rebuild their communities as they were promised by the international community. Just transferring money to Gaza now is a big challenge by any organization, not just by Islamic Relief. The Western governments that oversee counter-terrorism regulations and the international banking systems need to ensure that these restrictions that they impose do not suffocate the life-saving work of charities operating in conflict zones. Organizations like Islamic Relief should not be always under the gun that their funds will be terminated, their banking will not be transferred, and so on and so forth. Our only job is to save lives, ladies and gentlemen. With your support, Islamic Relief will continue to do its utmost in 2015 to contribute positively to what we hope will be a more peaceful and prosperous future. Thank you very much for being here.